Welcome. Can you hear me? Am I here? I think it's all good. Welcome. Thanks very much for coming out to How-To Diorama. I am Bill, and today we're going to look at what I've been doing on my diorama. I'm going to see if I've got this queued up right. Yeah, I've been working on that this week. It is the lowest part of my D&D diorama, and I put lights in it this week. I put tapestries in it this week. It was a lot of fun. I thought it came out really cool, and I was pretty happy with it. So we're going to look at how I did all that kind of stuff. And then I'm going to show you this. I did tapestries, which, if you're doing models, you're doing tarps and stuff like that. And I used Kimwipes this week, and not sponsored or nothing like that, but I've been using these for years. And they're like a commercial thing. And here they are. And it's because I have no lint. They won't give you any lint, like off a paper towel or possibly toilet paper or something like that, tissue, whatever. You can get lint off that. And that can really mess with the texture. It can really mess with your paint. There's a lot of stuff. And it doesn't look natural. Maybe like a wool blanket, which is prominent in like some of the models I've done. But if you just want like fabric, like hanging fabric, this stuff I believe is superior. I'll let you decide. I'll show you how to work with it. And there's some other properties that I really like about it. Number one, look at those folds, how it holds those folds really nicely. And it's a heck of a lot tougher than just, tissue paper. So we'll look at that, and I'll do a live demo and show you how I work with it and stuff like that. And also the lighting and, carving the acrylic and all that kind of stuff. Should be a lot of fun. But I got some folks that are here, and I want to say hello. Scott's here. Hello. Welcome, everybody. Please keep your arms and legs in the car until the ride is over. Yes, because there is clipping, and clipping is allowed. So you could lose a digit. Thanks very much, Scott. Thanks very much for being here. I hope your husky's good. You got stitches out yesterday at the vet. So I hope he or she is doing good. I don't know if it's a he or she. Martin, hello, Martin. Let's go and cheers for Holland. Hello, great Holland. Martin, I have to apologize. I did not get your pictures up for this week. I was just so busy. Martin just did a wonderful job on his latest project, and we're building the same thing. Well, no, not the same thing. He's got a cart, but it's a Kettencraft rad or Kettencraft. Yeah, Kettencraft rad. And it's the little German World War II tracks in the back. It's got the little bike in the front that were used like on tarmacs and around aircraft and stuff like that. They would move aircraft and all that kind of stuff. But it's in 48 scale. It's really tiny. And he did just a wonderful job in painting it. And I'm just, wow. I really, really super nice. And it's so small. So I typically work in 1/35. So doing something that small, I was super impressed. So please, if you know Martin, then you've seen it. If you don't, look up Martin on Facebook where his pictures are. I promise you I will have pictures of it next week because it's just a really, really nice job. Very subtle detailing. Still, like some rust and stuff and some chipping like I do, but it looks way more natural. When I do chipping on a tank or a vehicle, it looks like it's been run through something or, it's left after a battle. Literally, it's like it's been a couple of weeks since the battle's over and it's all rusted and stuff. I go a little overboard, but Martin's very, very nice. So thanks very much, Martin, for being here. Mark is here. Hello, Mark. How are you? It is great to see you here. American Genius is here. Hello, Christian. It is great to see you here. Thanks very much. I did not get anybody's pictures up, folks. I'm so sorry. Because Christian's got some stuff out there that I would love to show too. I've been asking for people to send stuff in or make suggestions, and then I talk to them, and then I don't do it. So this is the first time, but I promise I'll do it. Paul is here. Hello. Sorry, late and going on leave, so worked late to get everything sorted. That's fantastic. So you've got some vacation time coming up. Leave, however you say it, where you're at, and that's very cool. I'm really happy for you. Homefront Forge is here. Daniel, thanks very much for coming in. Hello, Bill. Hello. all. Wister is here. Hello, Wister. Great work this week, Bill. Truly amazing stuff. Thank you so much. It was really fun because all week, lots of you that are on today have been commenting and looking at the daily updates, because this week, I don't know, I knocked out a bunch of stuff and it was awesome. I mean, I kind of did a bunch. And oddly enough, it was a super busy week for editing. I'm also editing videos for my last diorama, the World War I trench, and those are coming along very well. And this is a long form video. I've done 4 now. And this is just the next one. So I did a bunch on that today or this week. So I will have some of that coming up too. Scott is here. Hello, Scott. She's doing good. Thank you. And I don't know all what's going on there, but you know, it's our pets are not pets. Ms. Modelcraft and I, we have 2 cats, and I absolutely love my cats. And you're going to see Ghost today in one of the videos that I have. Ghost is our youngest cat. He's about 2.5 years old. He was a stray. He kind of came in and took over Oscar's old stomping grounds when Oscar started living in the shop exclusively. You know, Oscar would be in the shop at night, you know, for the last 10 years. And at night, other than that, we always keep our outdoor cats inside because we live in the mountains and they get picked off by coyotes and stuff like that. So Oscar showed up. I'm so sorry. Ghost showed up when Oscar wasn't feeling like he could go out as much anymore. He was getting older. He was 20 when he passed earlier this year. And so Ghost started, you know, taking care of the yard and staking out his territory. So Ghost hasn't been a big part of videos. He is being much more gregarious nowadays. He's jumping up on my lap. He's jumping up on the bench. He does it in the video I'm going to show you. It's very cute. And it's just that he's kind of feeling his oats inside the shop, and it's really kind of fun. So when somebody has pets that they care for dearly, we're in. We are whole into pets. Love them. Thanks very much, Martin. I'm so sorry, but I do really want to show it because it is a very, very nicely done painting. -U power supply unit, and that's just it. You know, they would use these Kettencraft rads to haul around stuff on the tarmac, powering up, fueling up. I don't know if they did any ordnance with them, but you know, they were all over the tarmac working stuff. They're also like a kind of a scout vehicle, kind of a runner vehicle. I don't believe they were all that handleable on just I don't know. I mean, you think about it, but it's a very, very cool vehicle, and we're going to look at a very nicely painted one next time. And Christian says, "Hey, Bill, question. Are you planning to participate in the Vancouver IPMS competition in Canada? That's October, isn't it? I am not a great traveler. Driving, man, my back is kapooey. So probably not. I thought about it. I really did. I live around the Seattle area. Christian does as well. And the IPMS Canada, Vancouver, BC, they're having a show. I believe it's in October. Well, I know it's in October, but I'm not exactly sure the date. And it's a really nice show. And, you know, just West Coast wise, you know, and the IPMS Seattle folks help the Vancouver folks a lot of times. So there's a lot of cross-pollination, a lot of great camaraderie between the two clubs. Unfortunately, the drive is the thing that would get me. That's about a 3-hour drive. And whether I'm sitting or actively driving, my back is, that long of a drive is not great. So I'm not going to go, but thank you so much for asking. I assume you're going, and I hope you're going because your stuff is just remarkable. And that's one of the things that I want to get up on here is we haven't shown Christian stuff out here. Did we ever show your stuff on here? I think we did one time, Christian, but I want to show more because your stuff is just amazing. Next month. Yeah, I think I want to say the 18th. 17th. There you go. Which, does that seem odd to you? When I look that up, Christian, it's like on a Tuesday. Am I correct? It's in the middle of the week. I don't know. Maybe I and was looking at the wrong calendar, but I thought it was like midweek or something, which seems a little odd for a model show. But there you have it. And I could be wrong. So thank you so much, everybody, for coming on. Let's take a look a little bit here. Oh, it is a Saturday. Okay, so I must have looked at the calendar wrong because I was like, how are they doing it? It was like a Tuesday or a Wednesday when I looked it up. So I obviously was not paying attention. I'm going to go ahead and show you a couple of slides because I think I got some good ones. Menu. So this is kind of where we are. I didn't finish this. I was busy. But this is what it looks like today. And we're referencing this. This is my entire diorama, and I showed a video of it a little while back. I published a video, I think it might have been last Saturday, where it shows kind of the breakdown of the different systems, or I'm sorry, the different gaming places, because this is a 6-level diorama, but there's really 4 areas that I'm kind of concentrating on. 4 areas for gameplay. And that video kind of set them out and broke it down. I'm working on, and this week has been concentrated effort on the lowest level, which I kind of consider the boss fight. So when we're looking at this guy, this is kind of the boss fight. You get down here and you've done some stuff. You've been through stuff and back, and so now you're doing this last thing in the lowest level, and that's going to end the game. But that was kind of fun. Just looking at the different gaming elements in the diorama. This week and it's from Raymond Feist's book Magician. I really want to keep mentioning that because that's pretty important to me. Because number one, it is influencing it. I want you to know that this is where these images are coming from and stuff like that. And the thing about it, and I mentioned, I think this, at least the last 3 or 4 live streams, I'm able to build something that I read in my 20s, 40 years ago. And instead of seeing somebody else realizing it, instead of seeing a movie of it or a drawing of it or an animation of it or whatever, I'm building this. I'm taking my vision of a beloved book from my life, because I reread it each year because I love the story so much. So it's just been interwoven through all of my memories and through my life since my 20s. And I'm taking that imagery and I'm creating what I think it looks like. The reason I think that's so important to mention is I'm encouraging you to do that. If you haven't ever thought of building a diorama, if you've got a story in your head, I would love to see other people build it on books and stories that haven't come to a medium that is fully fleshed out for you. I love Lord of the Rings, absolutely. But the images and the people and how they speak and stuff isn't exactly how we remember from reading the book in junior high. It's a little bit different. There's nothing wrong with that. I love the imagery from Peter Jackson and what they've done. Not the issue, but the issue is there is something about being able to build your vision from a beloved book where you have not seen someone else's interpretation. So it's somewhat free of other design elements other than maybe the cover. The cover of the book has a lot to do with it. Certainly, I think a lot of us, when we're reading a book, that's what we're thinking of, is the cover and trying to relate the imagery in the book in our mind to the cover. Here, I'm trying to realize it in a little bit more fleshed out form, and it's really fun, and it just brings another element of joy about reading the book to today. So anyway, I go on and on about these things, and I just got to stop. So let's go back here and see what I got. So that is where I kind of started. What I didn't have at the end of last week, at Friday of last week, was any tarps, any the lighting wasn't in. I had no lights there. I was starting to fool around with the pit, you know. And so this is what it looks like now. And I've got lights back there. I've got tapestries back there and torches and stuff like that. And it's starting to look a lot fuller, but it's depth. It's really this feeling of depth, and the space is used. It's not just like an open arena. You don't just like walk in and it's like going, you know, to an arena and there's no game on. It's just this empty thing. And I think a lot of gaming areas are kind of like that. You know, they're not really full, which is good. So you can put your characters anywhere. But I wanted to have a major structure and movement inherent in the gameplay so that you can interact with that, with your characters and with the story and with the quest and everything that goes with it. Okay, so let's go back here. So that's what it looks like now. To get there, I had to make these torches. Now, torches I talked a lot about last week because I have done this process before and I did not know if it would work in what I wanted to do. And it's a very simple process. I have, and I got a little piece of it here. It's just, this is the actual piece I use. It's a 1/4 inch round piece of acrylic. A couple of things to note about working with acrylic. It will melt with like my Dremel, my moto tool. It did melt a little bit. You get used to it. It's not a big deal. A spiral bit will work better than your standard like Dremel bits. And what I mean by that is on the very small bits that you get for, I'm trying to get a good example that you can see. So when you get a standard, and why don't we go to the top down and it'll look better there? No, not at all. That was ridiculous. Let's do this. So this is a standard Dremel, you know, rotary bit. And you see how those cutting teeth, I'm so sorry, it's not really doing what it's supposed to do here. But you see those? They're straight. They just go from top to bottom. There's a bit of a slant to those teeth on that bit. But a spiral bit, and this is an exaggerated one, this is a spiral bit, but this is like a router spiral bit. You see how that they almost like a screw. And the reason I like that is it reduces chatter. When you are working on a harder material, not just plastic, but you'll get it on plastic too when you're doing your model, you know, if you're modifying your model. If you're using these standard bits, what it'll do is as it comes in contact on the harder plastic, it will get a chatter, okay? That chatter can do a lot of stuff, but number one thing it's going to do is it's not going to allow you to work it as easily, okay? One of the easiest ways to get rid of the chatter is to increase, you know, the RPM on your roto tool. Well, the problem with that is that also increases the heat that can build up because of the speed of making contact with the bit, and that can cause this to melt and clog up your bit. Okay, so now the spiral bit, what it does is it doesn't cut by the blade like this is the blade, but it's this flat blade. It doesn't come in contact with the material like that, you know, like that regular Dremel bit. It comes in contact like this, and it's a shearing action. That shearing action of the blade of these spiral bits cuts cleaner, reduces chatter, and you can use it at a slower RPM on your Dremel. Okay, so that's, you know, I'm kind of a tool head guy in my shop. I love tools and stuff like that, and I really like using the right tool for the right thing. I still use a hammer because it's the right tool for hammering a nail. But you know, that old adage, people say, well, heck, you got this great flinger danger, whatever kind of a machine, and it's really expensive. Why don't you use that? Well, because it is a specific tool for a specific thing. These bits are specifically good general purpose bits. They're fine. This one, this fluted, or it's not fluted, but the spiral bit is meant to shear material, reduce chatter, blah, blah, blah. See, now I'm just repeating myself. So anyway, use the right tool and you'll get a better result. That's all I had to probably say, but you know. So when I am looking at this, I just wanted to make sure that I had kind of, you know, the flame parts coming up, but I definitely wanted to split. And so what I had to do was I actually had to bring in my saw and cut that split down the middle. And then I kind of went back in and used the Dremel. So that helps a lot. Once I had it kind of carved like that, and I did 4 of these, then it's kind of hard to see here. I wanted them all different, but I carved it in on the bottom, you know, kind of a teardrop shape. You see it here. I did cut those little stands off the bottom. The one on the far right-hand side, that one is ready to be worked with further. But the one in the middle and on the right, those have a little kind of a stand. And that's just from cutting them off the acrylic. Then I made just really rough carved these, and they eventually turned into this. Those look horrible in my estimation. They look like they would come in a toy or something like that. But I made these. These are like the little mounts to put them in there. It's a piece of brass. It's a washer. It's a cut piece of styrene tubing. And then I added some rivets to it. And then that's where it is now. I don't think it's done. I think it looks a heck of a lot better. But there's still some work to go on them. And I think that's the other thing. When I'm painting, when I'm trying to get stuff into the, you know, into the model, into the diorama, whatever, I'll get it in there not fully complete intentionally, because there will be a part where I want to do all of the weathering on all of this at the same time. You know, there's kind of be this kind of a, you know, whether it's dust or sheen or whatever, there's got to be a little bit of weathering to go on in here when that's all I'm doing. It's the last thing. And so it's that kind of a cohesiveness that brings it together, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Okay. So what did I do after torches? I am going to go over here and we're going to take a look. I did the Mystic Pit. So the Mystic Pit is back here. Man, that's a really bright yellow. But the Mystic Pit is back here. Now it's lit right now. You can see it reflecting off my fingers. But prior to that, it wasn't lit. It just was this hole, and that's why I painted it yellow. So that's just paint. There's no lighting in there at all. I wanted some kind of a set the base color reflective whatever. This then is what I made to go over the top of that, because what I needed here was some clear plastic, something to kind of look like, you know, the surface of like a roiling pit or something. I guess possibly like lava, you know, and I couldn't figure anything out. But this is our first little video I'm going to show you, and this shows Ghost. It's only like 3 minutes. But this is how I made this. So I'm going to show you that video right now, and it's really, really simple. So basically it's one of those condiment lids that you get at, you know, like when you're out getting food, like for tartar sauce. It's just the lid. So watch this. If I can figure this out. Oh, so I'm going to show you how to basically make this. I needed a clear plastic surface for like this pit, and Ghost is helping out here, and so I used this to do it. So Ghosty, you can't be in here, sweet baby. You gotta go, pal. No, that's not yours, that's mine. Holy crap, this isn't working. Hey, that's not yours. I'm trying to film something. You know, this is maybe blooper material. Oh, okay, so he's gone. All right, so here we go. I'm trying to make this, and the orange paint is on the back side, and it's clear plastic, and then the surface is like the dark stuff. I'm going to do some more painting on this, but it makes this really neat surface that light can come up through. So how I did it is I used my heat gun to heat this plastic up. It's just like one of those small condiment container covers. And by heating it up with my heat gun, and then I just did it with my hand the first time, but you have to do it a couple of times. So I'm going to try it this time with this cloth. I just put a cloth over it, and then I can just press down on it. And as it cools, it'll take the rocks and make that pattern as it cools. And it doesn't take too long to cool. So let's see how this works. I have to blow away from the camera or my phone. So we just heat it up, and as you heat this thing up, it literally just goes flat. You know, kind of like the old shrinky dinks, remember? So see, everything just goes pretty much flat. Now it's nice and hot. I put this over it and just press down. And like I said, I did it with my hand the first time with nothing, and it worked fine. But this is easier because it was a little warm. You didn't want to leave your hand there. You just kind of wanted to press on it and then get out of there. So look at that. There's some sticking to it. But that right there, it's now cool, you know. But it's going to hold that pattern of what was below it. And I'm just thrilled. Because what I did then is I painted the top with just like some primer. And then I went back with a Q-tip and I rubbed the high points. Just a second, sweetie, I'll let you out the door. I rubbed the top of these off with a Q-tip and water. Then I went back here. I just flipped it over and then just kind of flooded the back with some orange paint and let it dry. It took a long time because it was kind of wet. And it gave me that. But it's still light enough that light does come through it. And like I said, I can do more painting on it. But yeah, it was a real nice, quick way to get this clear pattern on my plastic, and something that's pretty readily available. Hope you're doing well. We'll see ya. Okay, that was it. I like that because it was one of those things that I had no idea what I was going to use for that surface. I know I wanted light below it because I needed this kind of light to come up out of it, you know, so it looked like energy kind of coming out of it. So I needed clear, but I definitely wanted that surface. I was thinking pouring something. I was thinking trying to form. And then I remembered one of the guys at one of our model club meetings. His name is Scott Cruz. And he brought in, and I think he did it with like the big container, like a salad container, still the clear plastic. It's just the same kind of plastic, food grade plastic, but it was a big salad container, and he was making canopies. He was like forming canopies for some of his aircraft using the same technique, basically. So he would carve the canopy and then heat up that plastic and form it over it. No, you know, I don't need the suction, the forming table, all that kind of stuff. That would be kind of cool. But this worked just fine for this very simple technique. So anyway, I hope that was cool and is something that you could possibly use. I got a couple. Okay. So Wister says, 17th is a Thursday. Yeah. So oops, yeah, it's Thursday. So isn't that kind of weird that I mean, it's fine that they're having it on a weekday, but you wonder if you would get as many folks going to it on a weekday instead of a weekend. That was the only thing that I thought was kind of weird. And you are going. That's awesome. Great. Best of luck. I mean, it's funny that I mentioned canopies because that's one of the things that first got me just so excited about, you know, your stuff, Christian, was that canopy you did on it. Was it an F-35 or 22 or something like that? Amazing. Had the digital camo and this beautiful canopy. Just fantastic. So good luck. I think you're going to do great. Worcester, it's a cat's world and we're just living in it. That is such a cool technique for making that. Thanks for sharing, Bill. You betcha, Worcester. I mean, it was really fun. And I'm so glad. And it was that thing that I remember from Scott Cruz, how he did his canopies from the meetings. So another plus for going to meetings. I haven't gone to like a single meeting for any of my model clubs this year, just because stuff, just I've been super busy and stuff. And I was going to get to IPMS last week and I didn't, but I am going to the AMPS meeting tomorrow. So I'm really excited for that. Wow, love the technique. Thanks very much, Christian. It's really fun. And like I say, I think it's one of those things where that's not what Scott, when he talked about it, was doing. And he didn't demonstrate or nothing like that. But you can get it. You understand real quick. But it's one of those things where you get the technique in your head and it's going to sit in there and tumble around a little bit. And then suddenly you're going to have an application for it. And that's what's really fun. It's not like I have an application. Well, you might, but it's not like I'm going to learn something like that and just automatically have an application for it. But excuse me, just kind of, building that knowledge base and having that stuff really helps when you get in like this tight situation like this. So anyway, I just love that little technique and thought it was fun to share. So now let's see what I got next after this. So after I did all that, because I do show you a little bit of painting, that was, when I put the surface on it before I took the Q-tip for it after this dry, that's when I did that. This is what it actually currently looks like. I have not finished painting, and the reason is I may redo the surface because when it is lit, that was with blue light. It looked terrible. Green light, it looks great. But see the bubbles? They don't look round. And whoops, they don't need to look round. The bubbles don't need to look completely round. But there's like some sharp corners in there and it just doesn't look right to me. So I think I will go back in and repaint that because I think it really needs round to really show something's boiling. That's what I was going for. And I can actually take, right at the tip of those, something like that from underneath, because I didn't do any sealer or nothing like that. I can take some of that orange out to get a little bit more clear. So anyway, just fun stuff that I may go back to or not. What's next? Walls and tapestries. Here you go. This was the greatest thing. So first off, I did these walls. And I think I've got a little bit of a movie here to show you about the walls too, but I think it's a little bit longer. But basically, these walls have been loose the whole time, and I've been taping them and moving around and man, just a son of a gun. But now I'm getting close enough that they have all been glued together. They have not been glued down to the base. There's still, I think, some work that I need to do. And this just brings up another one of those things that I really believe in, I guess, or try to promote when you're building a diorama, and that's modularity. This whole thing, it's connected to electricity. That's what that was. Is just one level and it comes apart from the other parts of the diorama. But even this level, there's parts of it that can still come apart. I tried not to like hard plumb something that has number one electrical to it. Most of that stuff can be readily accessed and removed. Over here, I've got a little electrical device. I'm sorry, I can get it back over here and show you. And this then can be removed because this is a coil and there's electrical wires in there. So that can still be removed. This has been kind of locked down. This has been locked down, but none of these have been locked in place. Even when because these will be kind of glued in and set in. And I did solve how I'm going to do the wires. I don't know if I can show you this. Yeah, I think I can show you later. But the point is, this whole thing, this ring right here will still be able to be completely removed from the base. And that's just one of those things that has helped me while I'm building. It started as, I think, lack of confidence, honestly, that what I'm doing, I'm done. You know what I mean? When you get to a certain point in your build and you say, I'm done with that. I can lock it down. I can glue it down. It's done. Well, if you're not sure that, you can do that, that's kind of where I was. And that was on like my very first diorama. So I never glued everything down. But I continued to work on it and build and do all this kind of stuff. And then when it came time that everything's in place and everything is ready to go and the diorama is effectively done, I never glued it down. Why? I had built it in such a way and added details in such a way that it hid all of the seams. Any transition was not apparent. It didn't look like they were separate modules. Why glue it down? That now has become my methodology in building. Certainly I glue some things together and I glue stuff down, but I do it in such a way that if I should need to take it apart in the future, if I do need to repair something, I have access to it. May not always be easy, but it's better than literally destroying something that I've built, which I have done. There are certainly times where, I'm like building something and I was like, dang it, I shouldn't have done that. And I've had to tear stuff out. Again, that just reinforces this modularity mind thought process. When I'm building, I just think that way. Certainly, it also comes from my background, which was in manufacturing and high technology and all that kind of stuff, but in the manufacturing world. And it's all about, parts, assemblies, sub-assemblies, and final production machine. So you always had that string, and the fact that I did repair on machinery years ago. It's just easier to repair something that is a sub-assembly. I can take the whole sub-assembly out and just replace it with one that needs to be replaced, that is working. And so I've tried to utilize that same kind of stuff in my dioramas, all of them, since the very first one, which was it's not the first diorama I did, but it's the first one that had levels and an underground and lighting, which was the British bunker, World War I British bunker diorama I did in 2019. So that was the first underground whole thing where it had lighting. So anyway, see, there you go. I was just going off on a tangent. Let's look at these walls. That's not the walls. That's the walls. So the glue that I use on this, and I've mentioned this before, but I like to mention it again, and that's not the picture either, is this. This is foam tack glue. And it's a PVA glue. It's from Woodland Scenics, not sponsored. I have to keep saying that, because people assume. And frankly, I am going to get sponsored here soon. So that'll change. But the point is, Woodland Scenics, I really do like this because you put it on, you let it dry. And then once it's dry and you come together, you're ready to work on it. Other times when I'm gluing something, you glue, you set it up, you get it all clamped, you get it, positioned properly, something, and then 2-3 hours overnight, whatever, because you let this stuff kind of pre-dry on the surface, and that's what this picture is. Wrong picture. That right there is the glue is almost ready. It's completely white when it's on. It's PVA, just looks like regular Elmer's. And as it dries, it goes clear. Once it's just about totally clear, I don't wait for totally clear, but once it's just about totally clear, I just press them together, and then they stay, and you're ready to work on them, and it's great. I also painted them. I got video of that. I didn't really get a lot of still pictures of it, but you'll kind of see that it's been painted as we go forward. So the next thing is tapestries. And am I going here? Am I going there? I think I'm going, nope, going there. So tapestries, this is a tapestry. This is a medieval tapestry, and it's kind of freaky, and that's what I wanted, and I thought, I can just print that on a piece of paper because, for years, for years, I've been using like the toilet paper and different papers and stuff like that, and you put Mod Podge on it and it relaxes. And I figured, well, though it's paper, just let it soak longer. Maybe I threw some alcohol in there. I used hot water I let it soak for a good 20 minutes till the paper started to kind of come apart. I'm thinking, man, this is working. So that's what I did. And this is how it came out. Isn't that perfect? So yeah, didn't work so good. There is a chemical from, I believe it's VMS. And I've had friends tell me it works great. You just take a picture like I did, and you like want to drape it over something like that, and you apply this chemical to it. Pardon me, and it just does a great job of relaxing the fibers, because that's really what you're trying to do here. You're trying to relax the fibers so that it looks like they're hanging properly. Whether it's being draped over a vehicle like a tarp, whether it's being used as like a rudimentary shelter, whatever the case may be, getting something to drape, for me at least, is the key to it looking right. I mean, the paint is almost secondary to the physical look of it draping, so that gravity is really actually looking like it's taken hold of this thing. Because, I mean, here's that, well, it was here, that thing that we were just looking at, that is so stiff. It just, and when it was wet and all that kind of stuff, and I'm trying to do it, man, it just did not work it. It just did not work it. So I did this. This is Kimwipes, and that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to demonstrate this because Kimwipes, when they relax, they will fall. They will have like that gravity effect. The creases, it holds the creases, but it's not as, I guess, delicate as toilet paper. And that's the key. Hey, I've got some comments here. We got to hit those real quick. And Christian loves the technique. Thanks very much, Christian. I really do like it. Aaron's here. Hello, Aaron. Aaron was here last week. Hi, all. Dried baby wipe makes great fabric. I thought so too. The other one I've heard is dryer sheets, because they're a little bit flatter, but they have kind of such an open weave. I've not tried the baby wipes, but I'd like to try the baby wipes. Maybe try water transfer and lay it out on a dried baby wipe. See, now there's a great idea, because the first thing was also the pattern. So when I'm looking at that VMS stuff, it had paper and the chemical. So I wasn't sure. Now, do you have to use that paper? I've heard other people say you don't. You could just use regular, like literally cut something out of a magazine and it'll relax the paper. But like a dry transfer onto like the Kimwipes or something like that, that I've got taped down, that might be cool. Because I can get a heck of a lot better pattern. What I was forced to do, and I didn't want to do this, was I just painted it. I just did it myself. After these dried, let's go back to that real quick. After these dried, I just painted them, and I'm happy with them. That there's not a negative. I think they look fine, but it's not this real detailed thing that I wanted. I wanted one of these old timey, shows a battle, and like the 1066 one from Barreau, or I think it's called the Barreau tapestry and stuff like that. I wanted that. I didn't get that. But again, I think they look fine. I think they look good. They still need a lot of weathering. They still need to know how to, or not how, but you still need to see that they have been time. That I haven't got the time yet. They look a little bit too bright. They look a little bit too, they torn up for maybe something, but they need to be a little duller. So I got to desaturate, that kind of thing. That's what I was trying to say. I've got some more comments. Maybe try, we did the water transfer, but I do like that idea. Your Kimwipes just covered in brown look like some sort of makeshift cloth made by demi-humans. Yeah, they look good now colored, but it made me think some sort of makeshift tent could be made. I think that would be great, because that's the thing. And that is the other thing about these. They're not as delicate. I know dryer sheets have a small amount of lubricant on them. I'm not sure if that will evaporate or cause a problem. That's a fair point. I know that the smell might, but I think if you coat it, with something, it'd be fine. They look more like ripped banner from battle than tapestries, and they do look good, Bill. Thanks very much, Worcester. But yeah, I think, what I was, going after here was something that, okay, so first off, the colors, the yellow and the gold. University of Washington Huskies. I have no affiliated with them. They're just here. I have a lot of friends that are Huskies. That's why the yellow and gold, or the purple and gold. The fact that they almost look more temporal, but not temporal, kingly. I don't know what the word is, but regal. Maybe that's it. Instead of religious. There was a point when I was painting these and thinking about designs that I did have to think, wait a minute, hold on. I didn't want it to be all demonic. You know what I mean? I didn't want to go that route. I didn't want to go down there. And certainly there's demons and all kinds of stuff in D&D, and that's totally fine and appropriate. I personally just didn't want to put like something on the tapestry that was demonic. So I stayed away from black and I stayed away from red. Okay. Because when you put that on there, they have an immediate visceral response. And I just didn't want to do that. I did like the fact that it is more regal, like a more like kings or something like that, a line of kings or a house or whatever. But I also think that kind of messes me up because this is supposed to be kind of a temple. It is supposed to be kind of a religious gathering. It's not necessarily a kingdom kind of a thing or a patriarchal or a matriarchal thing. It's more of a belief that people come to. So I don't know. I'm still working with it. And I don't think I'm going to paint them anymore. I am going to just consider, going more into the weathering, because like on the bottoms of them, they definitely need a lot more weathering. Some greens look mold and salt. Salt has to be in there, like a salt line where it's soaked up. That's really because of the grotto part of it. So whites are going to make a big impact in here to look like salt and stuff like that. There's going to be stuff on the wall. So anyway, all of that, remember earlier I said I need to do the kind of like this overall weathering. That's when that's going to come in and I can add more to them. But let me see what you guys say about this, because I appreciate it. I know how dry she. Okay. Great. We got that one. Sorry, I missed my place when I'm doing it. Transfer paper works well. I use this to make RBF tags for jets. That's really cool. Soak it in red paint and it will dry with a natural wrinkle. Oh, very, very cool. And the remove before flight flags are really, really fun. So that's really cool, Martin. Thank you. Royal colors, exactly. That's kind of where I was going. Yep, regal. There you go. A once noble location now fallen. Yeah, and that's the other thing, because sometimes I just try to make up the part of the story that doesn't make sense and try to make it make sense. And that's for me, because when I'm building these, it's all based on the Raymond E. Feist Midkemia, the world that he created with his friends and in college. So that's the world I'm in. But I think there is room for me to add a little bit to the story. And it's just trying to fill in those parts that just don't work. They don't, they don't mesh. And instead of just leaving it hang, I'll do these little mental exercises and do it. Just like you're doing, Reese, Aaron. That I appreciate, because that is what I'll do. I will say, okay, so how could this be right? How could, in the farthest parts of the imagination, how could this work? Well, the fun part of that, when you're coming up with your story, which is ultimately going to be part of the campaign and ultimately going to, follow the diorama. But the cool part of that is it could be a regal or a royal lineage, which happened, trying to utilize religion to bolster their own legitimacy in what they're saying, which has been done for eons. And of course, when kings and stuff like that, they get big enough, then they can drop religion. But early on, a lot of leaders try to utilize that influence from a higher being to give themselves a voice of legitimacy. So I thought that would work. So thanks very much, Aaron. That's really cool. So purple and gold have both symbolic and psychological connections to royalty. Oh, I don't know what they're, when I was in the military, because colors made a big deal. And we had yellow and blue for my military unit in one of them. And they both mean something specific. It sort of implies a powerful, noble, and responsibility from the machine in the cave. Who else could fund? Yes, very good. I like that, Worcester. Just more flavor to the lore if you want to be seen it that way. I love that. And that's just what I was saying. I probably saw it down there when I was trying to explain it. The depth that you add to your story, no matter how minute the detail that you're trying to explain, a cup, to put a little bit of depth behind a cup sitting on a table in your diorama can open up a lot more angles that could be expressed in the storyline, a lot more possibilities for taking the story in a different direction. And this is just stuff that I've learned in building dioramas. I'm not a writer of stories and stuff like that. I need to become one because I want to document these stories, because I have some stories in my dioramas that are so fun that I do want to share the story of it. But in doing so, that's how I've been trying to rectify these things. And I really do see it like a story or a screenplay, because again, I'm building scenery. When you're building your diorama, I also like to think of them as scenes. And if it's a scene, what's happening in the scene? What's that person doing in the scene? What's the relation to the other people in the scene? What's the relation to the physical objects that are in the scene? All of that is just fodder for your story. So you guys are right on it. I love it. Wister, Aaron, thank you so much. Aaron says, if you want a dedication to a cause rather than a person, I would look at medieval universities and devices like astrolabes and stuff like that. And I've built a few of those, and not geared oraries and stuff like that. But that would be cool in here, because I am going to be doing an apothecary. So blue paint was once so rare that it was reserved for painting in the Virgin Mary. It wasn't common until they made synthetic pigments. Exactly. Some of these pigments back then were taken from animals. Shellac is from a beetle in Southeast Asia. All these things came from something, and once it was found to have any sort of value, boom, and its scarcity, the value went just skyrocketed. And then your nobility would then sometimes declare things only usable. Certain colors could only be used by nobility in some areas of the world back in medieval times. And that also increased their value. But they'd increase their value for only the king, because only the king get it. But the traders that worked in that good or that commodity, whatever it was, even the dye itself, made millions. So, well, in relative terms. So, yeah, very, very cool. Alrighty. So, I think it's about time I show you how I did these, and I want to do a little bit of a comparison between like the different materials, because the Kimwipes are awesome. But that doesn't mean I'm never going to use toilet paper again. I'm absolutely going to use toilet paper, because it has specific properties that I want, and that Kimwipes don't. So I'm going to swap it over here, and we're going to take a look at, I'm just going to scooch this back out of the way, probably turn it off. And we are going to look at this. I need to adjust this. Sorry about that. There we go. So this is the Kimwipe. And Kimwipe, the thing about it is this is how they come. It's just, this is the box. And I used these when I was a kid because my mom and dad had a print shop. And the when you were doing offset printing, you would take these, roll them up like this, you dip it in water, and when the offset press is running, physically running, you dab this on the side of the aluminum plates. It keeps the buildup of inks, but it doesn't introduce lint. That's the big thing about these. So they're the only reason I had these in the shop was I wanted something that I could clean lenses, glasses, camera lenses, even. Well, I'm not going to tell you to use this because there's lens paper, but I've used it on lenses. I'll put it that way. But it's cleaning with no lint. So you're not going to get anything coming off of it. So that's why I had them in here. But one of the properties is its toughness. Now, in this form, I mean, it's not much more than, some tissue paper. It is a little bit more. But in this form, it's very, very tough. Man, I mean, it is hard to rip that. And when you're dealing with toilet paper, I mean, obviously there's two plies. Um, it's got about the same strength there, but once it dries, it's got a heck of a lot of strength. That is really good for me because what I like to do, even this isn't just sitting here and drying and I get this pattern. I have to manipulate this to get this pattern. I'm going to turn on another light and see if we can get some objective light there to see if I get more shadow. See, you can see that there's a lot of patterning in that. And that's really what I want. When you're doing shadow or you're working in scale, shadows are as important as light. And I'm creating shadows when I'm creating these folds. So working this stuff, I'm going to show you. This is um, uh, my new parts holder. Now, you've seen these many times. It's a little flexible deal. This one in particular is from my soldering station. I've got a soldering station. It's got 4 of these, but I use it here. That's got a magnet at the bottom. And now I've got this brilliant parts holder that, I can hold parts. And there's that. So first I want to show you how I put the Kimwipe on here and, work with it. And then I'll show you how to modify the Kimwipe after it's dry. So we'll come back to that one. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this. And when I'm doing it, I could use just the single ply of the Kimwipe. I don't know why I didn't. I just wanted the both plies. So I just literally draped this over my little piece of wire here. This is 32nd inch brass wire. And so I just hung it like that. Then I've got myself a little plate. And I like to use 50/50 cut Mod Podge. And I just take regular Mod Podge, matte. It's the flat kind of Mod Podge. And when I'm doing this, I'm dripping it and I'm not just pouring it on there because if you do it slow enough, you won't drip anything below it. It'll soak up absolutely everything, but I'm just not that patient. Okay, so that's the first part. And then what I'll do is I'll kind of come down here and make sure everything is coming together. I don't want any air gaps in there. Okay, so I'm kind of pushing them together. Then I will bring these together like this and just bunch it up. And that's where, my folds, like almost like a drape, start coming from. I'll take a couple of paintbrush handles and I'll just manipulate it. It does actually stay where you put it and it will hang if you made these folds. It'll also stick to itself real nice. So when you do that, make sure if you want it, that's fine, but you have to make sure you do separate them and stuff. So that's it. Now I will let that just dry. And when that dries, now I'm just going to destroy it. But when it dries, that's where we get this. Okay. So now if I want to kind of make this thing tattered, I'm going to come out of this holder here real quick. But if I try to make this tattered and I just start tearing, this is one thing I found. It wants to tear in straight lines, and I don't want straight lines. It'll want to tear this way. It won't want to tear really in this direction. So there's a weave going on in there. So what I do is you have to really be careful in getting in here how you tear it. And once you get close to what you want, let's say that's kind of the bottom that I want, then see that there's a little bit of stuff in there. I kind of reactivate it by getting it either wet or even just some Mod Podge will do it. And then I start, working with the bottom, let that soak in a little bit. And I have a little wire brush. I love using wire brushes a lot. And now I'll just do this. And I'm trying to pull fibers down. See that? I want to pull these fibers down and disrupt that straight edge. I don't want to take it off completely. I just want to disrupt that edge. See that? And make it look like it's starting to break down on its own. Let me see if I can get a little tighter so you can see what I'm talking about. See that? Because if you just keep going on this, and again, if you don't wet it, you just sit there all day and do this stuff. You're not going to go anywhere. But if you also try to do this before it dries, it'll also tear it up. It's just it's not strong enough to have it happen. So just get that little bit of wet, and then see that you start getting that nice. And you want those fibers, those little fibers hanging down. You will be able to see those very clearly later on. So that's how you get a nice tear. And then your pattern is up to you completely. How you want to have the tear, whether it's jagged like I did, or straight or whatever. As that dries, some of them I kind of hung off to an angle. Some of them, I did 3, and so I just try to get them different. One of them, and it's this one here, is kind of hanging down. One side of the bar has fallen off. The other side is still in its hanger. So this stuff down on the ground, I'm not sure if I'm going to take that off. I'm not going to sure what it did. I haven't finished painting it. So we'll find out. But I think it looks pretty good. There's some variation that you can get in working with the material as well. This super stiff. It's stiff. You can kind of hear that. Kind of stiff, right? Well, that's because I did exactly like I showed you in the demo there. I just dripped, as it's sitting there, I just dripped the Mod Podge over it and let it dry, right? The other thing that I did with these is I wanted a little bit more subtle, and it's not quite working the way I want yet, but on the rock on the back of my moving arm, I needed this to kind of move a little bit. I didn't want it to be super stiff. I wanted it to kind of interact, so I wanted it kind of, like cloth would interact. So before it fully dried, I took this color paint, and that's what you saw in the pictures before, and I was dripping water and paint, not water and Mod Podge, but just water and paint. And what that did was it washed out part of the Mod Podge. So this is still Kimwipe, but it's much more subtle. It's much more, not subtle, supple. It moves a lot more. It does move like fabric more. Now it's better up here, less down here. So there was more. There was accumulation of the Mod Podge down here. So it's just a little experiment. I put the Mod Podge on there. I could do maybe a weaker Mod Podge water mix, like a 25-75 or even less, 15-85, whatever. But however I do it, I need to get a little bit more Mod Podge out of here. I need the Mod Podge in there. Toilet paper, if you just wet it and let it dry, it will stay. This, I found out, doesn't. This does need the Mod Podge. If this loses its detail if it gets wet and then dries out with just plain water. This does need Mod Podge. I'm going to go over here real quick because I have a Gamma Goat that this morning I put some toilet paper on. It's right here. And this is toilet paper. And so this is one of the properties of toilet paper that I like. Look at this. There is only water on that. So that is one of the differences. The toilet paper here that I did this morning was only water, and it holds its shape nice. This with just water, this has got Mod Podge in it, but this will lose its details more than toilet paper. Toilet paper will keep its details. This will keep details if you've got the Mod Podge in there, no problem. That's what this is, okay? There's more Mod Podge in there. The details did not, I don't know, soften, if you will. But they would if I didn't have any Mod Podge. It doesn't on this. Now, the problem with this, because there's no Mod Podge on it, if you try to paint it, it'll flatten out. So what you can do with these, and also what I do with these, once I've got them painted, I got them kind of where I want. I'm going to be adding more liquid to it. I just put some TS80 on it, some flat, TS80 flat clear. And I think that's a great thing to do. If I did something water-based, I've got the possibility of reactivating it and losing some of my detail, softening some of those creases that the Mod Podges are doing because of the water. Okay. But when I use the TS80, flashes off really quickly, still gives a nice coating or a sealing coat on it, won't reactivate it, won't lose any kind of detail, and it's not going to interact with the paint because it's Tamiya. So there you go. That's how I did it. So toilet paper, another property that I like about the toilet paper is the fact that it does kind of disintegrate. I mean, virtually disintegrate. If I leave water on this for too long while it's wet, it will literally break down to pulp, right? It doesn't have long fibers. I don't know if the Kimwipes have long fibers. I imagine they do. That's part of how it is able to do what it does. Lint would come from like very small particles, right, of paper, pulp. But longer fibers, it's almost like a weave or whatever. So I think this probably got short fibers. Well, that short fiber allows you to use this almost as like a sculpting medium. I do it all the time. I have some in a jar that's literally just toilet paper that I've pulped up, meaning that I have putting it in a blender, and then I put Mod Podge, water, Mod Podge, and water, and actually a little tiny bit of bleach because it started growing something one time, so I had to kill it. But I keep that, and it's over there for just like if I want like this little plop of something, I just need this little thing, and I can take a little bit of that paper pulp that's got Mod Podge on it. It's almost like a putty consistency. I can put it there, and I can sculpt. I mean, like a dog mess or something like that. You could do that easily. So there's some great stuff you can use this for, but it's understanding the properties so that you can, use the application you want. Now, I did say I was going to use some fabric too. I have some muslin. There are applications for using actual fabric, but here's the problem. I've not found anything sheer enough and light enough, except maybe for silk, that will fall and drape as well as this will. It's not to say it's not out there. I've not located it yet, but it would have to be so thin and sheer. It also might cost a pretty penny. Now, these aren't cheap, because they are, no lint, stuff like that. I think it's like $7 or $8, or maybe $11 for this box. But I'm here to tell you, these aren't you know, I'm not going to use these for anything but what they're meant for. So I probably won't buy another one of these boxes ever. Comes with 280 sheets in it. And if I do, fine. That's not that high of a cost. Again, it's a very specific thing. It's not to replace a rag on your desk. It's too darned expensive for that. But for this application, I think it works fantastic. Takes paint great. You saw that on these. These were all painted with Tamiya. The purple and yellow are Tamiya, and I wanted to use those because I could put them through my airbrush. And I didn't want to saturate something. So you look at the back, there's no paint. You know, I'm just surface painting this thing. So that's why I used my airbrush and used Tamiya paints. Then I went back in with gold, and I used acrylic gold to do kind of like the little delineations there, and then the little pattern that's also hand painted. But I just wanted a simple pattern to show that there was a repeating image. It wasn't just blah. In lieu of actually having a nice tapestry that I tried and horrifically failed. Okay, so let me see what else we got. Aaron says, hey, Steven says, new member. Hello, Steven. Steven Kessel became a YouTube member. Thank you very much, Steven. That's really, really cool. And Aaron says, how about the skeletons of a person hiding behind one? Yeah, I definitely want to do skeletons. I have a big, I don't know why. I just put a skeleton in one. Oh, well, I actually know why, because Indiana Jones. I just love Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones, and that kind of thing. And they always had, you know, skeletons and stuff like that. So I'm going to do skeletons. And I think I mentioned last week, when I get my printer out, I'm going to look at scaling up. I've got this really, really nice skeleton, you know, that I scaled down to 30th scale. But I think it'd be neat to scale them up and like have giant bones in there, you know, or a skull or whatever. But yeah, I think that's going to definitely get in there. And then Aaron says, I can't help but wonder if cheap baby wipes would be a happy medium between the Kimwipes and TP. Thinner than the first, thicker than the second. Yeah, I'd like to try them. I've got like the Costco wipes. You know, I use those all the time for my hands and stuff like that out here. The problem is they have a pattern. There's like a, it's this. See, it's kind of got this pattern. And I have found that those patterns don't go away. So one person had suggested to use sheet dryers, because those don't have patterns on them, but a lot of them have slits cut into them. So but yeah, I'd like to try to look, into some other wipes or something like that. But I mean, frankly, I'm pretty darn happy with the Kimwipes. I even have some regular tissue paper here. You know, you get it. It's like, you know, wrapped and flowers and stuff like that. So there's that. I tried to use this. This disintegrates much like, even maybe more readily than the toilet paper, because it's just a single ply. So it kind of went out. Now, in trying to make this thing work, I even use this. This is a steamer, and this actually did help. And what this, it's plugged in, but man, I don't want to kill something like my computer. But what this does is for like steaming your suits, or, I got it for steaming the backdrops when I'm doing my photography. I've got like these big cloth backdrops. And so basically you fill this thing up, and this thing just pumps steam out of it. I mean, it'll burn you really bad too, so you gotta be really careful. But what this does is, when I was trying to get these, not on this one, but get these to kind of relax and fall straight, because you see it kind of goes out from the top. You know, it's bunched up here, but it kind of goes out like this. Well, to get these to go straight down, I was using that steamer to kind of steam this when it was still wet. And that helped it, again, those fibers to relax and do it. I'm sorry I didn't mention that before. I think it was effective, because this one I did this morning. It doesn't take too long for this to dry. I did this morning, and I did not use the steamer. So Anyway, I should have said something about that. I don't know that it's necessary because it's depending on the shape and the fall and the gravity effect you're looking for, but it helped me. So there you go. And there's a lot of other uses for that steamer, by the way. We did the skeleton. Yep, and we looked at that. The pattern is usually on one side, and you can get rid of them. Sometimes a trained tutor has a video tutor. Very cool. I'm going to check it out. I love that. And I really do like other suggestions and stuff like that. And if you have a website, if you have a channel, if you have things that you want to share, please bring it to the table. We would love to share your website, your videos, your Facebook, whatever, showing your diorama or model building. That would be wonderful. Colton, hello, Colton. Hey, Bill. This is the first stream I have been able to catch. Where did you learn all these skills and techniques to do what you do? Curiosity, honestly. I just have always been really excited about how things work and just kind of figuring stuff out. Was not a great student, so I had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, thinking I wasn't smart as the other kids, which I'm probably not, but I was always good at figuring things out. I was always good at understanding mechanical things. You look at the diagram and you're supposed to figure out, if this cog moves in this direction, what's this one over here on Thursday going to do? I could just smoke that stuff. I was really good mechanically. My mind works much more in a visual way. I don't really not great with math and all that kind of stuff. But so far as physically making something and I can see, yeah, I don't know. And well, now look, I'm 60. So I've been doing it for a long time. I think that's probably the biggest part of it is taking your curiosity and trying to run with it as much as possible. I'm super fortunate because I had a great job for years that allowed me to come home at night. I didn't get a lot of work done at night, but on the weekends, I would come out my shop and I would just build, man. It was like this. When I was younger, it was like this dead heat because I only had 2 days, right? I only had the weekend. And so I would literally plan these things that I could get done in a weekend because I wanted to get stuff done. And I would work till 2 and 3 in the morning and doing this stuff, but it was always self-taught. I just love figuring things out, and I love being challenged on just building stuff, finding out a different way to do it, finding a better way to do it. I in my professional career, I worked in process improvement. You might wonder. And so, process improvement is always trying to find a better solution for what's already been figured out, right? You go into a manufacturing plant. I did software, and they're doing this, and they're doing that, and they're doing that, and you have to look at it like literally as you're walking the shop floor on the tour, right? And you're just ripping through your brain. Okay, I can do this here, I can do that there. My guys can engineer that. My software developers can do that. We can tie these two things. That's what I did. I didn't go into plants as much. I basically worked with our sales people to figure out solutions for companies, right? So, in my own background in manufacturing, I have always been a huge proponent of if you have a hobby, look at other hobbies that you can bring things into it. Fortunately, my job, I was able to take my job and bring in a lot from my job because I was looking at parts all the time and assemblies and machinery and mechanics and CAD and all that kind of stuff. So I had basically on the job training for my hobby because it just supported it, at least what I saw in my mind. So if you're really super interested in miniatures, I would say look at your models, look at your dioramas, but also look at doll houses. Look at people that make those little miniature engines, right? You've seen these V8s and V10s and V37s and they're little tiny copies of engines, and they work and they're running. Now, I don't have the math and machining skills to probably do something like that. Not to say I couldn't gain them if I put my time or my effort toward it, But that's the kind of thinking that goes into just kind of having a life of being curious and being like, well, how did they do that? And never satisfied with this is the way to do it. I was always skeptical on this is how you do it. It's not this is how you do it. This is one way to do it. So yeah, that I hope that's a good answer. I don't know. But yeah, that's what I do. Buddy. And I think that I am really enjoying work. I've always loved miniatures and dioramas, and when I was younger, I had time to work on these. Unfortunately, now I don't have my tools anymore. That is really a difficult thing because I absolutely love my tools, you know. It's not to say that I can't do stuff without my tools, but I understand not having the tools to do. But here's a different perspective, and I don't know your situation, but when I first started working, I loved the fact, and I didn't realize it immediately, but I did realize it when it was happening. I loved not having what I needed to make something. I absolutely loved it. When Mrs. Modelcraft and I first got married, you know, real, we didn't have any money, just like most couples starting out. And so I would go to the wood shop and I would buy scrap wood. Couldn't afford anything else. It was like you buy it by the pound, whereas the nice dimensional lumber and stuff like that you get off the racks was more expensive. And people could buy that. I couldn't. So I would go to the scrap bin at the lumber shop and buy that. For years. It's not like most of the time then I get no, that's all I bought. Well, the majority of that wood, it was gorgeous wood, it was Babinga, just a fabulous wood to work with. It was from a local company that was making cellos and wooden instruments, right? So all of their offcuts are what I was buying. Well, they had all these beautiful shapes in them because, you know, they're cutting the necks of a cello or they're cutting, you know, the side, just all this gorgeous wood. But, you know, they'd be like that thick. And then it would be like an S curve and nobody wanted it. I bought all I could. That fact that I couldn't buy the wood that I wanted to buy to build whatever was in my head made me go home and reimagine whatever I was building. Pardon me, because I was limited. So what I'm trying to get across, Jorge, I believe it's Jorge. What I'm trying to get across is sometimes not having and finding a way. I'm not saying it's easier, but it may cause you to think in a different way to accomplish what you want to accomplish. You know, like I said, I don't know your I don't know your situation. But I found that helped me when I was younger. So I hope you get back to be able to build something. And I know that there's lots of stuff that I use that are not model related for building my dioramas. So maybe some of my videos will help in that. So thanks very much. I really appreciate it, Jorge. A fascination with form and function that other people don't often understand. I really like that. As a kid, I loved shape, I loved form, I loved drawing, you know, pictures and stuff like that. And the things that I loved drawing the most were things that I found viscerally exciting. A car, the shape of an aircraft, the shape of a wing, the shape of a hull of a boat. Those kind of things. Those are the kind of things that I was very, very interested growing up. That long, sinewy curve, you know, lofting an aircraft. Those things are exciting to me. So yeah, I think that adds a lot to it. Bobbity, I want to make sure I get everybody. Whoa. Oh. Aaron said, yeah, I got tons of experience with one of those working in a tuxedo shop. There you go. I had a buddy that worked in a tuxedo shop when we were in high school, and it was awesome because we got deals on tuxedos for like homecoming and stuff. And then we talked about Jorge, great. And then so relaxing, well, great, yeah. And that's the thing is, building is relaxing. It when I'm at my bench, I mean, it's a pretty active thing, but it's so fun. Oh my gosh, yeah, it creating, especially when you've been doing something technical all day. Like I worked in when I was in manufacturing, I physically built espresso machines at one place I worked at 30 years ago. Then the last place I worked at for 23 years was a software company. And when you're doing computer work all day, or you're talking with clients all day, or emails, or spreadsheets, man, I was a monster with spreadsheets. I did a lot of spreadsheets, because I did data analysis and all that kind of stuff. That's not taxing. It's not hard. It is tedious, and it's very strenuous up here. When I would go home from that job, and I would come out at that time to my garage, and it would be me and Oscar and just the bench and wood, and that's it. And I had a radio. I didn't have a TV like I have all now. I had no computer, nothing like that. It was just a radio and me and Oscar. And I would get in there, and it was just the greatest place to be. Absolute greatest place to be. It was quiet sometimes. I would, the music, sometimes a great song comes on, I'm dancing around, and it just, having that kind of freedom to have a place like that where you can express yourself, you can think, that's amazing. I have places set aside now. My office is so amazing to just sit. I'm not saying my office is amazing. I'm saying it's amazing for me, the feelings of it. It's so amazing to go in there and just do nothing, but just think. Do nothing. No radio on, no TV. I'm not playing my game. I get the computer is doing whatever the computer's doing. Just to think, I used to talk about that a lot, because I think in building a diorama, if you're giving yourself a deadline, like a show or something like that, or if it's a group build or whatever, it can kind of stifle your creative ability. And I think those quiet times when I go in the office and I just think, I could do it for like an hour or two or three. I've done it all day. No joke. I've sat in a chair and thought all day. Some neat things can come out of that. That's a lot of fun. I can't really do it anymore, like I said, because I always think, oh, I could do this, because the ideas just come a lot faster now. But when I was working, to be able to get away from that work, to be able to get into this environment where anything pretty much is possible that I'm interested in building in miniature, was just the most remarkable feeling. I wish that for everybody that has that impetus to build and create, is that you cultivate a place in your own home. And it doesn't have to be big. My very first shop was on the porch of Mrs. Modelcraft in my apartment. Before we got married, we lived together, before we got married for a year in this apartment. And on that little tiny outdoor porch, there was like a side closet for putting a barbecue in or something like that. It was really, really tiny. That was my very first shop. That was it. It was about 2 by 4 feet, I think, 2 feet deep, 4 feet wide. No, I think it's 3 feet wide. That was it. That was my first shop. And I loved it because it reminded me of the little shop in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. His father, his shop that gets, if you don't know the movie, it's not going to make any sense, but he has basically, it looks like an outhouse, but that was where he would go every day to have his adventures. And it was just this little top, and he had his little tea in there and stuff like that, or this little thing. And it was just this most quaint thing, because this person could go there and it was just their place. That was my first shop, that little closet off the side of our balcony. So yeah, cultivating a place just to be able to be by yourself, create, think of things to build, is an amazing thing. So I hope everybody can maybe try to do something like that. And you don't have to build there. You can just read a book. Anyway, quiet is hard to find these days. I'm so sorry, Colton. It's been sitting there forever, and I was going to read it. Great responses and really well put. Thanks, Bill, and thank you for posting all of this to YouTube. It has become a highlight of my day to check out your daily short. Well, thank you so much, Colton. That's really really cool. I really appreciate that. I these daily shorts that I put up are really just to say, man, this is what I built last night, because I'm excited about it and I love to share it. And it also helps me kind of keep on it because there might be a night where I'm like, nah, I don't want to build or something like that, or I'm just so busy editing or something like that. This happened this week. But you know what? Knowing that I get that short out for some folks that really like to see it daily, that really is a great motivator, and I like that because I not only I'm hoping giving out something that people want to see, I get a lot back. I get great ideas from folks. I said that a lot last live stream about how much I receive and how much joy it comes back to me because of the suggestions, because this whole level that I'm working on was heading in a different direction until Scott and Mary said something about it. So thank you. Benny is here. Hello, Benny. Sorry I'm a little late. No worries at all. I'm kind of running along today, but it'll replay right after, as well as I repost this. It's like the replay. It has to do some processing weirdness, but then I can repost it at 4 p.m. So in just a few hours, I repost it. Jorge, thank you very much. Good deal. Appreciate it. And then Aaron says, limitations demand creativity. Anyone can build something if have unlimited resources, but it will be the same thing anyone else could make. And I believe that. I think you absolutely hit it on the head there, Aaron. Building from a pattern is just never something I was really interested in. Not because I think I'm a great builder. It's just that the stuff that I was interested in building, I couldn't find plans for. If the things that I was building or interested in building when I very first started, if there were plans, I probably would have done them. Why not? But that started in me the want to figure those things out on my own. It's a very, organic process when I build. I don't have them plans. I have a nebulous idea about where it's going to go and what I'm going to build, and a general idea, but I get an amazing amount of joy out of figuring something out that I hadn't figured out the day before. I mean, it can also happen on an hourly basis. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Bang, I got the idea. It happens like that. And those are fun events. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm a really boring person, but that's a really, really fun event. I'm thinking about something for like hours and I don't know how I'm going to do it. Bang, I get it. That right there, it's like a goal, right? It's somebody shooting a goal. It's like that. It is that feeling. I mean, I will literally sometimes get up and shoot my hands in the air and go right on or whatever, something stupid. Nobody's in here. Nobody sees me. Well, Ghost probably looks at me like I'm an, weirdo, but that's fun. And that, just having fun building models and being able to give it to other people, it's just, that is a joyous thing in my day. It's absolutely, and even when I do the short, I don't do the short just to do a short. I'm talking to my friends and say, look what I did last night. That's a pretty fun thing. That's pretty neat. So anyway, I'm just going off on a tangent, but thank you very much. Okay, so do I have anything else? I don't know. I've been yammering for so long. Let me see if I have any other slides over here, because I think I do. What's that? That's my camera. So here's my slides. I do think here I need to go. I'm going to try to, I think I've got some tight shots here. So here, this is the tapestry on the left. See the bottom? So it's tattered real nice, but I think it really needs a lot more color, like some grays, some greens, but not a green that's going to kind of highlight the yellow. I need contrasting colors because I need this stuff to stand out. And then I probably think I want to put not dust, but some kind of a grit, some kind of a grit or something to look like just ages on it. And then I think I already mentioned this. I didn't paint the bottom of this because I don't know if I'm actually going to cut it away, make it even more shredded. What in a pool of something, maybe. I don't know. And then there is the torches inside. I'm really happy with the torches. Now, I think I've got a picture where I can show how I'm going to fix these torches, and it's not necessarily fixed, but I think that's it. It's hiding the wires. I'm going to go up here and try to find another picture that's a little bit closer. This is the one. So now, as you look at the torch in the lower right corner here, that has some wires coming back, and there's a hole right behind them, and then there's the little mount below them. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm basically going to kind of try to mortar those in. That'll make them difficult to replace if necessary, but I think it'll work just fine. And I will be able to pull it out of there if necessary. But that's how I'm going to fix it. Scott really was interested in how I was going to hide those wires, and I've got them mounted in below. Looking back here, these torches are a bit big, and that is something that was discussed online. It's like, man, are those torches? They're kind of big, aren't they? Yes, they are. And I think I'm kind of going to go with their ceremonial. They're not really torches that are meant to be pulled out and worked. It's like this big, ceremonial thing that you would light up when you went in there. That's kind of where I'm going to leave it, because I really did think about making them smaller and making them look like somebody just walks up and drops it in there. But the flames were too big. I would have to make the flames smaller. And I just really liked the flames. I thought they came out great. And so, yeah, I decided not to do that. But I think saying they're ceremonial, they're part of this whatever happens in here. I think that'll work. Now, there's a lot more detail to go in here. I'm not done by any stretch of the imagination. There's grit. There's got to be like some weapons just hanging in there. I want some stuff in there, swords and pikes and stuff like that. I originally built a I was going to say trebuchet, but it's not a trebuchet. I can't remember the name of it now. And I don't think it's going to fit where I was going to have it. So it's either going to have to go on the street or possibly down here. It might go in the sewer system, but also might end up here. So a broken down weapon of war might be pushing it. It's the same kind of construction as in here. That's why I thought about it. But why would it be here? A ballista is what it is. Sorry, I couldn't remember it, but it's a ballista. And I just don't think the ballista would go in here. Anyway, so I do have a bunch more stuff to put in here, but as it goes, I'll just have to figure out what it is. Pardon me. And then Aaron said, contrarily, you're not boring. Boring people need more stimuli to be entertained. The creative have an entire exciting within themselves. Well, thank you. Yeah, and I would agree with that. I think when creative people get these ideas, it's not that you see something, you get this great idea. I think it's the fact that you saw something, you started thinking about it, and then it goes into your subconscious, and then you think on it for a long time, sometimes years, and then that's where epiphanies come from. These I just got this wonderful idea. I think it's because you had to mull on it, and I think your brain is doing that subconsciously without even your understanding of it, and that's where these deep ideas come from. I've never heard a physicist go, I was just thinking, and then explain relatively. It's not how it happened. There had to be a heck of a lot of quiet moments that go into that. I'm not designing a new energy explanation, but it's not to say that exercise of just hanging out for a little bit isn't going to help you in your creative efforts, because I think it does. Ash and carbon as the grit for the tapestries. That's not a bad idea. I have some dry pigments that I was thinking about brushing on, and I have black, which you don't see as often, at least in the dry pigments I have. But I have like some dry pastels that I can shave off, so I might do those. Petard or catapult? Yeah, it was a ballista. But I have built a catapult too, so it's over there. But yeah, it was a ballista, and I think it came out great. But I kind of just wanted to build some mechanical thing, and so that's what I built because I thought it was fun. But it really doesn't fit where I had it, at least as the story goes today. So I'll have to work on that. But I thought I could like munch it, like, literally crush it so it looks like it was brought down here and then at one point destroyed. I don't know. We'll see. Well, thank you everybody for being here. It has been an hour and 40 minutes. I can't believe you made it this long. I can't believe I made it this long. Thank you so much for coming in. I really enjoyed it. And we got a new member on today. I got to go back and say Stephen Kessel is a new member today. That's just brilliant. And everybody else that I talk to through the week, and you give me such great ideas and certainly support. I really appreciate that. And even sometimes I get some negative comments, and they're not really negative. They're people just, wanting to be funny. I think they're funny too. So, okay. I don't really take myself all that seriously. I don't get upset at that kind of stuff. So if you have comments, give them. I like them. It's good stuff. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. I am going to be going to the AMPS meeting tomorrow and seeing some friends at AMPS, which is modeling group. And then on Sunday, I almost forgot. On Sunday, this is the third week of the month, and that's when I do our group build for all paid patron members. And with Steven just being a member, I might invite Steven into that too. If you can make it. So that is going to be on Sunday. I have done this a couple of times now. So I did it the first time, I think it was Sunday, 8 to noon. Then I did a Sunday 10 to 1. And now I'm going to do a Sunday. I think I'm going to go to 4 till 8 p.m. 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. I'm trying to find, it's a 3-hour block, and we're on together, and it's for all my paid patrons. And like I said, I'm going to probably extend that to Stephen too, and Bushranger, who's also a member, because I've got 7 seats that I can have in there. And sometimes I got available seats. And so I want to try to bring people in. So I'm going to be sending out that email this afternoon. And then I got a video coming out tomorrow. I got it's a remix video. And then, yeah, I'm just going to dive back into it for next week and build some more stuff. So I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I'm watching football on Sunday. That's why it's later in the day. Huge football fan. Seahawks go. And yeah, hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for coming by, and we'll see you. Oh, I got some new comments. I got to say hi. Mike can make Sunday evening. Hey, Mark, that would be great. I would love to see you there. Benny says, thanks, Bill. Have a nice weekend. You as well, Benny. Thank you so much. Benny's from Germany. It's awesome. And Aaron, thanks again for the info and stories. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Aaron. Scott says, thanks, Bill. Welcome to the new folks. That's really cool. Scott is here all the time, and Scott is one of my longest viewers, I guess you call viewers. He's my friend,